Alright people, I've got a few jobs to do here at the flat. One of them is ripping up and replacing this kitchen floor. It needs replacing because quite a few tiles are cracked and delaminated. That's got quite a nice crack in, you can see that because it's got white dust in it. That tile's cracked, this one's cracked, this one's cracked, that one's cracked, and there's a couple more. I'll show you that they move as well. Just take this strip off. This hasn't been stuck down properly. If you look here, this is a tile in the centre that's debonded or delaminated. It's cracked as well. Look. I believe this got tiled about 9 years ago. It's before my time. So I don't know whether it was really done properly, what the subfloor's like. There's lots of reasons why this flooring might have failed. He might not have used a solid bed trowel to actually get the tiles down. He might have just used inadequate adhesive. It might be the substrate that he stuck it to. I have no idea what's happened. In terms of replacing this, I can tile a floor. I'm quite good at it, but I don't really want to. This is a grade 1 listed building, single glazed windows. It's quite cold in here and there's no radiator in this room. This flooring is really cold. So I want to have the same look, but something a little bit warmer underfoot. So I think I'm going to go for maybe Carndine. I'm going to take these kickboards off first. Where my first challenge is. The washing machine sits on tiles, but that's behind the kickboard. So I might keep these in place. They seem quite solid. So I need to take out these tiles. Lucky enough, the cupboard there sits on that. It's kept back from these feet here. Over this side they're on the tiles, so I think I might have to cut across here maybe, because I don't want to adjust these feet if I can avoid it. I do need to take out the fridge freezer though, because the tiles run under there. It doesn't fit. We're gonna have to leave this in the hallway, Lou. It's because I can't get it out anywhere. Come on. Bloody hell. There's no, look, there's like no adhesive on it, it's all that. Nice. Should we have a look at probably why it's gone wrong? Let's look at the trowel marks. I mean, this looks like a 6mm notch trowel. This one over here looks slightly bigger. But you can see where the ridges are not collapsed, and in terms of like, that's great. That's just a splodge there. This one's going that way, that one's going across there. So it's not uniform, you should go in one direction. Some of the tiles came up like this with nothing on, some came up like that. So I would say he didn't prepare the floor properly, maybe it was a little bit dusty, and he also didn't back butter his tiles. So you could look at it one or two ways, that either he's done it shit and it's made it easier for me, or if he hadn't have done it shit, then maybe I wouldn't have had to have done it. He kind of done me a favour, but he also hasn't. Just by looking in this corner, it looks like he's overboarded the original floorboards. So I think this is probably 18mm ply. And this is where he's got really lazy. This is like the packing that goes in between your tiles. And he's just left it on the tile and stuck it on the bloody floor. In the middle of the floor where the worst tile was cracking, it's basically the board joints. You can see there's a crack all the way across there. So that's where the two boards join. You can see it there. And then there's another crack this way as well. So that's a separate board there and a separate board there. For anyone that's interested in doing this kind of thing and you want to tile your floor properly, even though I'm not doing that on this occasion, this is how I would have done it and it wouldn't have failed. The 18mm ply on top of the original floorboards, that was a good idea in terms of strengthening the floor, but it wasn't quite good enough. What I would have done over the top of that is used a cement-based tile backer board. That would have been 6mm, and you tape and joint the seams as well. There's a video there, and that will stop the cracking that you've seen in these boards that are already down. To get that down, you put a 6mm notch trowel and you screw that down as well. That will give you a solid base that's not going to move or crack. From there, you're going to use a solid bed trowel, not 6mm notch trowel, not an 8mm notch trowel, solid bed. And you're going to back butter your tiles. That way you'll get full contact, full support, no chance of cracking. And the tile adhesive that you want to use is an S2 tile adhesive. I like the flexible fibre S2 from Ultra. That's the one that I would always use. And if you do all of that, you won't have any of these issues. Okay, so under here, I've left this row in. What I'm going to do is when I come back, I'm going to support the cupboards, move them feet up and take these out completely and then fully support these feet properly. So what I do now, I'm thinking, I mean, look, that's all right. Yeah, the screws are there, but to find the screws to get this board up, I'd have to get this adhesive off anyway. I've had a couple of test patches, like here, just using the hammer drill with a chisel, and it's coming up all right. Once it's all cleaned off, I'm gonna get some 5.5mm ply, overboard this, because there's a little bit of unevenness, and then I'm gonna get the Cardine flooring. So I've measured the floor actually before I ripped all this up. So I know exactly the area that I need to cover. I just need to make a decision about the grout lines and whether I'm going to go a little bit lighter or go with the dark ones. So I'm going to clean all this up. I'll show you how I get on afterwards. What do you think of the new floor, Arthur? What do you think? Is it wonderful? We're pretty much there. I certainly broke the back on it anyway. I did snap the bit on my STS drill though. It just got too hot. There's the other bit there. Lucky enough I got it out because that's like one of my favourite drills. I would say there isn't enough screws in this to keep it solid enough. It's my understanding the person that done this, their main trade is plastering. So you can certainly see that on the floor with the screw spaces being 300mm. I would have done a minimum of 150 on this, if not less. You don't want this moving at all. He would have stood a fighting chance had he have done that and used an S2 adhesive. If you don't know already, I don't have a trade, I just have a go. It's just gone 8 o'clock on a Friday night, so I'm going to stop, have a beer and a bubble bath. Whilst we're here though, I actually made this spice rack. Looks alright, doesn't it? And I boxed in this pipework a couple of weeks ago. And because you need to refill the boiler, I'll put this little vent in. And there's a little tap in there. So I'm going to order up the floor. I'll probably be back here in a couple of weeks to fit it. Glue down Cardine, never done it before. We'll see how it goes.